This message brought to you by Chicanos por la Causa.
Bienvenidos and welcome to another segment of La Plática. Today we are launching a brand new program that is going to change your perception of lowriders. We are launching the program called Los Angeles Boulevard News. And today we have a special guest with the Los Angeles Lowrider Alliance, Christina Romero. But first, I want to give a great shout out to the staff here at ELAC, East Los Angeles College, which has been the stepping stone for many successful Latinos to move on and to give back to their community. So thank you to the president, Dr. Roman, and to the staff member, Mr. Burnett, who have been wonderful. Okay, Christina, so tell me a little bit about where you grew up, and then we'll get into the Lowrider Alliance and some of the special projects you're working on, because you're a high school teacher, which is amazing. All my respect and admiration. So the floor is yours.
Thank you for having us here, and we really appreciate the opportunity. I grew up in East LA, grew up in an era where lowriding was kind of the trend and the thing to do. I was a teenager of the 80s when education wasn't the greatest, and so a lot of us in that era didn't do really well in school or didn't take school as importantly as we should have. I didn't graduate with a diploma. I took the high school proficiency exam to be able to receive my diploma, and then went on to college and I have a master's degree now, and I'm a credentialed teacher. So I understand a lot of the struggles that a lot of teens and young children are facing in education now. So I try to bring that to the table as a teacher and help develop pipelines and develop lives and give them chances.
And some of the things we try to do here on Los Angeles Boulevard News is to really highlight our struggle. We face a lot of discrimination. We face a lot of negative stereotypes about part of our culture, which is embedded in our culture. It's many, many years. Many of the owners of lowriders spend a lot of time, dedication. It's art, it's math, it's history, it's everything that goes into building these cars and showing them and being proud of that culture. But you're also involved in a lot of really great activities that people don't know about. So tell me what the Alliance is doing nowadays.
So a couple years ago, we got a chance to be involved in some legislation that was game-changing for our community. And it kind of came about unexpectedly. We had an assembly person, Luz Rivas, write a resolution in the assembly, AR 176, that talked about how special the cultural history and tradition of lowriding was and how great the people were. And it was something that was so needed at a time when we've had 30 years of just oppression and evolvement kind of going down. Progress is never a straight line, right? So we were in a downspout. And that legislation opened the door for us to be able now to create these alliances and these partnerships and networks across the state to address inequities in our Chicano community in lowriding. And it's really not just about lowriding, it's about addressing the inequities and the things that keep us oppressed. It's a civil rights movement. This is another civil rights issue that is involved in this struggle. And so we had an opportunity through AR 176 that passed unanimously in the Assembly to now move into a law, AB 436, which then legally addressed ordinances that were placed in communities that targeted the Chicano community and lowriders.
And that's part of the oppression of our Chicano culture and our community. And so I'm so glad, and I want to shout out to the Lowrider Alliance. And I know in the room today we have the Ghetto Car Club, and shout out to them for being here today and all the great things that they're doing. So now you're teaching lowriding and math and a lot of different things to kids, and kids are just loving this, right? And
lowriders, there's a little lowrider in everybody, right? And
I love that.
You're right. And lowriders have just this trend and this pull, and it interests kids. It interests everybody. And so being in education, I teach science is one of the class sets that I teach. And we've been able to get involved in the STEM community and really develop our partnerships with like the Columbia Memorial Space Center, Inner City Arts, Simons Foundation, other science related organizations to help us now bring a new audience to lowriding. And that's one of the things that we're working on, is trying to take us to another level, you know, showcase all the STEM stories that lowriding and the people in lowriding have, that take us to, you know, that allow an entry point in for kids and others into our very technological, you know, world that we're growing into. You know, everything is going to be AI in a few years, and including lowriders and all the jobs and everything else. So we need to have these pipelines for our kids that give them the opportunity to learn all of these different skills.
Now, many of the clubs that I know of, like in Phoenix, we have the Intruders. I'm going to give a shout out to Jimmy. They just had a big get out the vote activity, and they were registering people. But you do a lot of community service, and nobody ever tells those stories. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to tell stories through your lens, through your eyes, about the great things that the lowrider community is doing. So what are some of those events?
Oh, you know, and I have to give a shout out to the whole state. You know, we have been in a network from Sacramento all the way to National City, and from San Francisco all the way to Modesto. I mean, there's just, you know, all the cities are involved in this, and they all do such great work in their communities. We always try to give back to the community. There's all kinds of different need drives, whether it's toys or food or back to school stuff. There's just plenty of that. But now we get into, this is Breast Cancer Month awareness, and so we have a lot of breast cancer shows, helping raise money for breast cancer awareness and organizations that deal with that. So there's just so much that, and our community is very community oriented. We love our community. We want to give back. We don't ask for things for free. We just want to help people. And we are finally getting, you know, some acknowledgement for that. I don't think that it's showcased enough. But we are really trying to bridge those gaps and educate the rest of the world exactly who we are as people.
And that's why we want our viewers to stay tuned to Los Angeles Boulevard News, because we will be now showing those stories, and it will be told by individuals like Christina, who are respected educators, have been involved with lowriding for many, many years, and will continue to use that vehicle to get kids involved in these positive community activities.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your car.
Right. My cars are still in construction. Well, they're under construction right now because I have kids in high school.
I understand that. Right.
We have a 43 Suburban that's still just kind of waiting there, and a 68 Impala. And so those are, again, under construction. Maybe when my kids get out of the house, we'll finish them. But that's where we are with our cars right now.
And if you haven't ever cruised in a lowrider, you got to do that. I can remember in 1970, growing up in Barrio Shelltown and Logan Heights down in SoCal, my next door neighbor had the first 66 Chevy Impala that was lifted all the way around, and I can remember going cruising, and it just made you feel like, hey, this is us. This is something cool. This is our culture, you know. And so I really appreciate you bringing all this positivity here to the lowriding community. Now I understand there's like 8 states are affiliated with the alliance?
Yes, so pretty historic. We created this California alliance with, it was about 24 cities. That hasn't been done before, where we all came together to support the effort of the law of AB 436. From that, now a national network has grown. And so there's about 8 states involved in that. New Mexico, Texas, us, Arizona, Oklahoma, Colorado. I think I got everybody. And so we're developing now a national nonprofit that will now advance the issues of not only just lowriding, but all of the cultures and traditions and the communities that are impacted by lowriding.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. I know recently I was in New Mexico, Española, and Chimayo, and there's a big sign there, welcome to the lowriding capital of the world.
Yes.
In New Mexico, and that's very true. In Arizona, we have a lot of car clubs that are involved in the same thing. I know that in Texas, Colorado, all of these states, but I've also seen some in the Asian community in many Asian countries. There's a huge lowrider community there too. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, they really have adopted this culture and this, culture. They buy our cars and take them over there. They love the, just the trendiness of it. And so yeah, Japan, there's a lot of countries that have adopted lowriding as a pastime and as a hobby.
And that's what we try to tell here in Chicano, about our Chicano stories through our lens. I really appreciate you giving us all that information, because there's a lot of information that I didn't know. So I want our viewers, whether you're in California, New York City, Arizona, no matter where you're at, stay tuned to LA Boulevard News, because this is a new segment and we're going to build it, and you're going to be amazed at some of the cars and some of the things that the Lowrider Alliance is doing. Isn't that right?
Oh yeah, and our community deserves so much credit. A lot of these clubs that are here, Ghetto Los Angeles, amazing club, and the things that they do for our community. They work with our legislators, they work with us, and they're very supportive in all of the endeavors that we try to be. Imperial's Car Club, great organization, great membership. They just started a nonprofit that's going to work with education and maybe scholarships out there. So there's so many that are doing just great work, and we really appreciate all of their efforts. And that's really what we're here for. It's not about us. We're here to support them and give them a platform. And anytime we can move the dial for that, it works for everybody. It helps everybody.
Good. Well, I tell you what, you'll never see on any news television this type of story. So we want to thank you, Christina. We want to thank the members of the Lowrider Alliance, the Imperials, the Ghetto, for being here today and highlighting this very important cultural aspect of our history and our culture, right? It speaks to our hearts.
Yes.
So I want to thank you for joining us today on LA Boulevard News. Stay tuned. Again, a big shout out to ELAC here in East LA. This is Dr. Jose Leyba signing off. Hasta la próxima vez, and we'll see you again. Gracias.